Minister Ananda Sangari, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a long time coming for the patients who went to the federal Indian hospitals in Canada. Can you tell us how important this announcement is for those who went to these 33 hospitals?
This is hugely significant. As you know, the last hospital closed in 1981. It operated from 1936 towards 1981 with the last one closed. There are a lot of survivors who have passed on, but for those who remain, this is hugely significant. They've held their stories, their experiences, the atrocities that took place close to their sleeve for many years. For many of them, this is the first time they're actually speaking about it. So I believe that it's a very important moment for the survivors, their families, but also for Canada.
Minister, it was also announced that the federal government will provide more than $500 million to help support the 100,000 survivors of these hospitals. Can you break down where this money will go and what that is expected to look like?
Sure. The first and most important part of the resolution involves supporting individual claimants, individual survivors, which includes compensation in the range of $100,000 up to $200,000, depending on the type of harm that they endured. There's also a $235 million that's set aside for healing and for other supports. There's an additional $150 million towards commemoration. And there's also funds available towards legal fees, ensuring that there's legal representation for every one of the claimants who come forward. The important aspect here is not the financial compensation, it is the broader issue of accepting and acknowledging and ensuring that the harms caused over the many years, for some, it was over 3 or 4 years, especially at a very young age, they've endured at federally run Indian hospitals, have some closure and have some answers, and also will enable them to move forward. So it is fundamentally important that for Canada we continue this path of reconciliation. We acknowledge past harms and enable people to build trust and move forward, as survivors.
Minister, do you have a message to those survivors who endured and went through unspeakable things in these hospitals? I'm talking about those who weren't allowed to leave the hospitals, living with TB for years as children, and those who had so many tests done against them against their will. They carry those scars to this day, and many of those survivors have passed away and also died in these hospitals and never went back to home to their families.
Look, I've been meeting with survivors across Canada. I've had a chance to speak to a number of very small groups and individual survivors, including the lead plaintiff in this case, Ms. Anne Hardy. And the common thread there is that there's an enormous sense of displacement and loss, and I wouldn't even say anger, but real animosity towards what happened to them. I believe the acknowledgement that we're making tomorrow will put to rest, I think, some of the anxiety faced by many of the survivors. In a broader context, this is about us walking on this path of reconciliation. Many past childhood harms especially have had intergenerational impacts, not just on those who have endured these hardships, but also their descendants. And I believe what we're doing is enabling a reset of this relationship, building trust, and to ensure that people can move forward. I met a middle-aged man in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago who is afraid to go to the hospital just to get basic treatment. He's afraid to go and be treated. And this is what people, for just just an emergency visit, even he's petrified about going. So these have left long-standing scars, and I'm very hopeful that this turns the page and allows us to move forward and really build up those who have endured so much and their descendants. And as a Canada, it enables us to understand, to learn from this, to ensure that atrocities like this never happen, the mistakes of the past are not repeated again.
Minister, really quickly, are you able to speak to whether the families of those survivors will also be compensated?
Certainly have a compensation for those who were alive as of the filing of the court case, which was around 2016. So those who've deceased since that time are eligible for compensation, and they will certainly, their estates are eligible. With respect to the broader family class, they are able to access some of the wellness and mental health supports that's available through both the Indigenous Services Canada, but also through the foundation that will be set up to do some of the healing.
Finally, Minister, what are the next steps following this announcement?
Well, this is a historic agreement between the lead plaintiff in this case, Ms. Hardy, and the class of those who went to federally run Indian hospitals. The next step here is that this agreement needs to be endorsed by the judge. There's a hearing that's set for the middle of June, and we're hopeful that the presiding judge will look favorably upon this agreement. And following the judge's endorsement, if they do endorse this agreement, then the next steps will be to establish an administrator and make sure that there's outreach across Canada, across all communities, especially remote, rural, northern areas, and to ensure that survivors know that this class action has been resolved and they may be entitled to some compensation. So that will take some time, but we're very much on the path towards resolving this claim. We have signed the agreement, so it is binding on the federal government, on successive governments. But as the judge endorses the agreement, then the next step for us would be to start working on decimating and ensuring the funds are available for the resolution of these claims for individuals who may be coming forth.
Minister, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.